Well, the tropics are really starting to waken up in the Atlantic, and we are in phase one of the Manjulian oscillation. What does that correlate to with our weather pattern? Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It is the 6th of August, and as I say, MJO is currently in phase one at the moment here. We have seen the system that was once Storm Flores pull into Norway left a legacy of destruction and even quite widespread power loss across the northern half of the British Isles, particularly northern Scotland, actually really hardest hit over the 4th and 5th of August time period. Here at Marfogan Weather HQ, thankfully the power did return last night, so it is back to normal for us, which is good news. But you can see here, this would be the correlation, according to Paul Roundy's work and analysis of past MJO phases versus the synoptic pattern that you would expect with those various phases. And you can see here that a phase one around the 9th of August is looking like this here, with a trough in the western North Atlantic, ridge edging into the western side of Europe with a trough in the east. And over the next 7 days, this is how the pattern is looking off the GFS extended. We've got this negative over the top, quite a positive North Atlantic oscillation at the moment. We've got the ridge over the eastern United States as correlated in the polar roundy page for the Manjulian oscillation. Not so much of a trough over the western Atlantic, but you can see the ridge extending into the west of Europe here. A little bit more amplification in this analysis versus the actual projected forecast of the GFS ensemble. But generally speaking, ridging is going to try and fight northwards over the west of Europe as we progress through the next week to 10 days or so. That will introduce the chance of more settled, sunnier and warmer conditions as a result. And the Met Office model is indicating some fairly warm temperatures. This is as of late weekend coming up. According to the Met model here, you can see 28, 29, 30 Celsius in the southeast of the British Isles. And what may be a contributing factor is Dexter, tropical storm currently over the western North Atlantic. Winds sustained at 45 miles per hour, pressure at 1,003, and 13 mile per hour movement in an east-northeast direction here. According to NHC anyway, this system is expected to take more of a kind of east rather than northeast track. Remember, yesterday the models were indicating that the system would perhaps track up the western side of the UK and Ireland here, clipping the northwest. Looks as if it may take more of a track towards perhaps Biscay and Iberia. But as a consequence of that, that may force higher pressure to the east over the UK and Ireland, as opposed to more of a glancing blow to the northwest. But you can see here quite an active Atlantic, 40% chance of development off the east coast of the United States. There's Dexter, another system over the main development region at 60%. And this is all correlating very nicely with the MJO moving into the Atlantic basin for essentially the first time really since the beginning of the season. Looking at the global models, then you can see that the forecast track takes it towards, by 144 hours and beyond, it takes it towards the Biscay region here, generally speaking. Looking at the GFS ensemble, this is the global models. In fact, here, this is the multi-model look here. You can see the majority of the members actually take it towards the west coast of Ireland. The GFS ensemble takes it towards Biscay, but again, this general region here. And what that may suggest here is a building of pressure that may provide the potential of heatwave conditions for mainly the south of the UK. I'm not saying that we're going to get 3 straight days of 25 plus across Scotland, for example, but generally speaking, I think there is fairly good agreement here. This is Dexter looking at the ECMWF model here. We've got this strung out area of high pressure really extending from what the Gulf of America all the way to the southern UK. This is quite an impressive, real stretched out, vast area of high pressure. Dexter's on the western side of this high essentially there's it feels like high pressure everywhere. But you've got a much more active African easterly wave train here. That is conducive of the MJO moving into this region of the world. Like I say, taking the lid off, allowing the atmosphere to breathe, and these thunderstorms to develop. Biggest obstacle for systems developing within, particularly the main development region, is dry air and shear. Excuse me, I'm still continuing to fight this little cold that developed over the weekend. But you can see here that we've got high pressure nosing northwards over the UK and Ireland, providing some decent, sunnier, settled, and warmer temperatures in the wake of Florence. Now, according to the ECM, you can see here that we do have a frontal system that moves in tonight into Thursday morning. Got a pretty decent 979 millibar low south of Iceland, northwest of the UK. Once that frontal system moves through, we're in that kind of westerly, showery regime. All the while, Dexter is now starting to round the bend onto the northern side of that high. But as we head towards the weekend, we've got this westerly regime, low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south, always warmer, drier the further south you go, always cooler, wetter, windier the further north you go over the British Isles. This is fairly textbook for late summer. And as I've said all along, the month of August would become more highly volatile. The tropics would become more involved in the pattern. That's exactly what's taking place, and we can get swings between deep lows and strong highs, heat versus cool and wet and windy. That is pretty much playing out exactly as expected. And you can see here by the time we reach Sunday, 12 UTC, the high is being influenced by the presence of this little pocket of warm, humid air associated with Dexter. 1007 millibars, not a particularly deep feature, but it's the influence it's having on the high that is rather interesting. And then if you can see here, perhaps a frontal system developing here as it becomes fully extratropical. It means that it's developing frontal systems. It's getting driven by the atmosphere as opposed to the warm waters of the subtropics and the tropics. Obviously, these systems, as they move into the colder waters, they develop different characteristics. The fuel source becomes much more atmospheric as opposed to oceanic. But you can see here, perhaps a wet weather moving into the northwest of the British Isles, Western Ireland, by the time we reach Sunday here. But it's this feature that is potentially drawing warm and southerly air moving up from Iberia, France, into the UK and Ireland as we move into the early portions of next week here. And then that energy runs in finally to the UK and Ireland according to the ECMWF. Looking at the 850s then, and you can see here that we've got this warm air mass extending from the Canaries, Northern Africa, all the way up into the southern UK here. Again, always more changeable the further north and west you go. That was forecasted. That was part of the idea that I had with this more highly volatile pattern through the month of August. GFS, similar idea. You can see here this little area of slightly cooler air over the Azores, but you notice this dip in the jet here associated with this cooler air driving southwards over the North Atlantic. That then pulls heat further east downstream northwards as a consequence of that. And if we put the overview on for the GFS, you can see excuse me, you can see the remnants of Dexter here and the high that is getting pumped due to that feature that was once Dexter. Play back through the sequence here off the GFS. We've got this low pressure trough, kind of driving systems across the top of the UK. Always, again, warmer, drier the further south east you go. But watching closely the remnants of once tropical storm Dexter creeping ever closer towards the Biscay, Ireland region, area of high pressure out ahead of it, and the interaction between that high to the east and the low associated with Dexter, drawn warmth northwards here. Again, looking at the 850s, but this time off the GFS. And I'm not necessarily saying that we're going to see this, 10-day period of high and dry and warm, but we are certainly going to see surges of warmth, and that has been pretty much, this is playing out very nicely. This is playing out exactly what was expected, for the August forecast, but also for the summer forecast as a whole. And, I could not be more happy with the way this forecast has played out. I think this is going to be up there with one of the best forecasts that I've produced so far, and that you're going back 15 years. So, not too shabby, I must admit. I am currently writing up an article with regards to not tropical, but the storm Florence. It did generate a wind gust of about 80.6 kilometers per hour here at the house. It's one of only 3 occurrences of 50 plus mile per hour winds that has been recorded here at Vogan Weather HQ. So a very impressive wind gust for sure back on the 4th of August associated with that storm. And pressure dropped to 979 millibars. So it blows away both the wind gust and pressure record for both the month of August as well as the entire summer season. So it certainly has been a pretty impressive summer in terms of heat records, wind records, rainfall. We've pretty much got the whole shebang during the course of this summer season. So let me know in the comments section below what you think of the summer in your given area. You can actually see here, this is an interesting satellite imagery courtesy of windy.com, shared by Liam Dutton on Facebook, that once with the centre of that system crossing the top of the UK here, pressure dropped from the mid 980s to mid 970s in millibars as it crossed over the north of Scotland. Winds obviously 82 mile per hour. Wick, we've seen records fallen in several locations in terms of strongest wind gust ever recorded in August. We've seen a tie of the strongest wind gust for Northern Ireland at 66 mile per hour at Orlock Head. But you can see here the curl, the hook of the cloud showing this peak intensity of low pressure as it crossed over the UK. Its associated frontal system extended all the way back to Bermuda and beyond here, extending just off the east coast of North America. That frontal system, very long stretched out, was rather impressive to see on visible satellite imagery, looking at the big view over the Atlantic Basin and including North America as well. Certainly has been an impressive summer for all types of weather. Hope you've enjoyed the summer so far. I certainly have. But yeah, we will be back as usual tomorrow with more, and we'll look at some of the longer range stuff as well. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. See you next time with more. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Bye for now.